All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday night. Most people are getting ready for extended vacations. They're getting ready to unwrap gifts at the Christmas tree, maybe a little bit early, but we are here on Sportswire Radio, and we have no vacation, no day off, because we have a lot to talk about here in an abbreviated Friday night show. Before I do, where you are, could be Saturday morning, Friday night, where I'm going to talk with pro wrestling star here from Resurrection Wrestling, the Boat Neff. But until then, I'm here with an analyst for all the great things here in the world of wrestling. I apologize, Mr. Randy Dillon. Randy, how are you?
I'm good, Tom. How are you? We're close to the holidays, but as I said, Time Warner, are they feeling jolly or what with all these rumors circling?
Absolutely, no question about it. And obviously, a lot to talk about here in a short amount of time. But anything you might want to add first in what we saw as SmackDown went off the air?
Really interesting with SmackDown because are we getting this field? Is there a possibility we're going to see a triple threat, a fatal four-way at the Rumble? I really felt after last week it was going to be a one-on-one match with Orton and Roman Reigns, but it sounds like we might get a fatal four-way with AJ Styles and LA Knight kind of involved. Kind of happy with how the LWO reunited with La Fandango, with Santo Escobar, the others, so that's really good to see. And heck, what a performance tonight by Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, Carmelo Hayes definitely is a guy that we hope to see more in SmackDown. I want to go to Santos Escobar real quick because he's got some friends now, and I got a feeling here between him and Kevin, and something tells me Santos Escobar maybe could be getting that crack at Logan Paul. And Logan Paul certainly said a lot in sort of a short, a little promo there. But what do you make of Santos Escobar with some help now?
Santos has been on a roll as of late, ever since his turn with Rey Mysterio. He has been phenomenal. A lot of people thought his friends weren't going to go with him, but it sounds like they have decided to join him at this point to get him that United States Championship that he should have won, as he said. So it's going to be interesting next week because, heck, Kevin Owens and Logan Paul can definitely throw the haymaker. They can definitely throw the mic if some pipe bombs there. So, but Santos, I think he deserves an opportunity to get a crack at the title.
Or are we seeing Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, where Kevin Owens can see if he can usurp that U.S. championship run from the self-proclaimed most relevant U.S. champ of all time in Logan Paul?
Oh my God. Yeah, definitely. If we remember Kevin Owens' US run, they were horrible, Tom. So they weren't the best. Definitely. I don't know if Kevin Owens needs the US title though right now. I feel like he's good on his own. He doesn't need a title. I feel he might get kind of stuck in that mid Carter where I think he's better off right now without a title to do some things on his own.
Interesting here. I want to come back to Roman Reigns, and I actually want to say hello to a couple of people first. I want to say hello to our buddy Ron. Yes, the holiday weekend is upon us. Obviously, we wish everybody safe travels. Also, our buddy TBK. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be with Randy for about 10 or 15 minutes, so we'll try to pop you in next week. So thanks for tuning in. But speaking of champions, in my opinion, and I factually know this here on Sports by Radio, whose championship run has been far better than Roman Reigns' run, and he's also somebody who's nationally ranked by the very well-respected Kings and Queens magazine. In fact, he's just ranked outside the top 100. He is our prophet of purgatory. He is our final boss. He is our reigning, defending DBW champion. He's going to be in action tomorrow night on the Dominant Breakout Wrestling YouTube page in the main event at Merry Mayhem against Big Tex, the self-proclaimed big man of DBW, but he is the real big man of Sportswire Radio, Mr. Judgment himself, and he wants to say, evening mortals, Roman's championship reign has been false. You want to see a true championship reign? Look no further than mine and DBW. Absolutely, I could not agree more with that, and that's why I want people to follow very quickly DBW on Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, and on Twitter at DBW Wrestling. And if you want to buy some merchandise, get in touch with DBW through the YouTube page, and Merry Mayhem will be tomorrow night. So I know what my plans are. My plans aren't going to be traveling plans, movie plans, holiday plans. It's going to be watching Merry Mayhem and then being back on Sportswire Radio. So thank you so much, Mr. Judgment. Also, Mr. Judgment will be back on Sportswire Radio in January at some point because we're going to actually break it here, Randy, real quickly. Mr. Judgment, because he has been the prophet of purgatory. He has been the final boss. He has been the most dominant big man of the sport. Sorry, Roman. Sorry, Big Tex. Sorry, Ledger Shade, when he was running things in TBW, whoever else is out there. Mr. Judgment will be a member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. We're going to induct him into our Hall of Fame. Obviously, last night we inducted owner and founder of XCW Fletch, and Mr. Judgment definitely well-deserving, and we don't want to certainly get that final boss slam from Mr. Judgment. We want to avoid that moveset. We're going to induct him into our Hall of Fame here 1,000% at some point in January. In fact, I would induct him right now, but he's a busy man getting ready for tomorrow's huge title defense against Big Tex. It'll be a battle of the big men in DBW, and I'm very, very excited about that. And congratulations, Mr. Judgment. Thank you for all that you do for us and entertaining us here in the world of wrestling and coming here to Sportswire Radio. But I guess then I want to come back to Roman then, because obviously Mr. Judgment, I know, is our champion here, our true champion of the world, and obviously he's nationally ranked in the well-respected Kings and Queens magazine, which covers independent, underground, and other semi-pro type wrestlers and ranks all of them from 1 to like 750. But I mean, do you still say Fatal 4-Way? Because I mean, certainly we saw that tension between Randy, AJ, and LA, and New Year's Revolution in 2 weeks from now. We're going to see a winner, we would think. And I mean, Randy, I don't know if I see Fatal 4-Way. I mean, I'm still saying Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, but what say you?
Definitely, I still think that's the way they're going. But even watching SmackDown tonight, Nick Aldis' confrontation with Roman Reigns, we've seen the past with his confrontation with Adam Pearce.
He got some things about Adam Pearce. Yep,
yeah. He didn't back away. He was really saying and we had never seen this side where a top executive kind of backed away on TV from Roman. So it gets interesting. Do I think Randy Orton is still going to face Roman Reigns at the Rumble? Absolutely. A Fatal 4-Way doesn't make sense in the way you have to have another match then coming down in the Elimination Chamber, which I said last week. I think they want to save the main event there for Rhea Ripley, as she had deserted to get this opportunity in front of her friends and family in her homeland of Australia. So I think it's more likely we're going to see a one-on-one match. And then this keeps AJ Styles and LA Knight a little busy as well for some time.
And we spoke about that last week on the show, and I think that would be a really, really exciting match. AJ Styles and LA Knight and Randy. We know the history there with the bloodline and him being put out of action for as long as he was. So I think that would be something we'd want to see. And I also want to give a big shout out to our First Lady of Sportswire Radio, Miss Zena, who's certainly enjoying the conversation. So thank you, our First Lady, for joining in with us here tonight. We'll be out here through in and out the next couple of hours. So definitely hang on tight with us here. And yes, Xavier Thorne, I know who you are. We're going to definitely at some point down the road bring you to Sportswire Radio. You are not confirmed and anything, but yes, we're going to we'll let you know for sure. Obviously, we certainly have a busy schedule ahead on Sportswire, so definitely we know who you are. We know what you're up to. And yes, certainly calling your shot may not be the most best way, I would say, to do that. But yes, we will definitely have a conversation at some point in 2024. And thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that you and your family have a wonderful holiday and such. But, Randy, in the time that we have, obviously, Chris Pizzea will join us here in about 10 or so minutes. We'll let Chris talk some NFL and some baseball with us. But, you mentioned AEW. You mentioned what I would assume be preluding to some contract things here. Now we hear all of a sudden this big shot heard around the world, literally, that could change the landscape of television as we know it when it comes to a merger possibly between Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount, which would mean obviously CBS and TNT and Turner, all those families that AEW is actually on for Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, all that different stuff. And now, I have to ask you with AEW, now we know that Warner Brothers Discovery extended AEW's contract for another year until the end of next year, but Raw apparently is still going to be without a contract on a network after October the 1st. And I was curious here, Randy, with this news that I just broke and mentioned that's been all over social media the last, I'd say, 48 hours, what does this mean for AEW and WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery?
Well, I think we go back to the 90s with Nitro and Raw. I think everyone say the day Monday Night Raw on Warner Brother TV mean WCW won the war. I don't know about that, but listen, there's so much going on here. The fact is that AEW contract expires at the end of that year, I think, is huge. We talked about it with CM Punk, how important he is to this piece. Listen, they made Collision basically for CM Punk. They didn't make it because Tony
Absolutely.
Khan wanted a second show. They said we wanted CM Punk, and CM Punk is driving these conversations. I think with especially with Time Warner, Warner Brothers, they have TNT with the
Yes,
NHL
bro.
and NBA.
If Paramount, but my question, yes, and I agree with you, CM Punk for sure. But if Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery merge, how would this impact in a way similar to what we saw in 2001 when there was that huge shuffle with Time Warner, which led to obviously a change in the guard in TNT and TBS, and they got out of the wrestling business. And Paramount's not in the wrestling business, and let's say they merge. My question is, we know AEW has one more year. They got the extension, but WWE is still shopping the Raw brand. So my question is, with this landscape changing, with this potential merger that could be on the horizon, I would have to think that this domino not only affects AEW, but WWE potentially going to Warner Brothers Discovery.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much effect with all the streaming rights now, with all the television. I was reading about this, and the fact is, this is a big time slot for Warner Brothers, for Time Warner to conclude, even with the merger with Paramount Discovery. This is a big time slot to get big name attention, especially with all this streaming happen nowadays. Raw is still getting good numbers. I think putting them to a bigger network like Time Warner and Warner Bros. Definitely helps them maybe get some more drawing. I think Time Warner and Warner Brothers also realize AEW, listen, things aren't working. The ratings aren't going much. Attendance is kind of strong. Do we cut our losses with both, or do we try to kind of resurge it?
Yeah, I think it's a big question. I mean, obviously, AEW definitely has some issues when it comes to their attendance and the different shows that they run. But again, WWE is the juggernaut, and if Warner Brothers Discovery, let's say they get merged, how would that impact those negotiations? And also, Xavier says, yes, I remember, I saw that on Instagram. We'll certainly give condolences to your mother, and obviously, definitely will keep you in mind down the road on Sportswire. So we'll see what happens with the contract situation there. I'm sure we'll have an update, although Meltzer kind of made it sound one way rather than another, but that's Dave Meltzer for you in this point. But, again, now let's go over to the Raw side. And we're seeing, some different things. CM Punk for sure. We'll always speak about Punk. I mean, Punk pretty much drives the dialogue in social media and with the Twitterverse, whatever you want to call it these days. But talk to me about some other things you see. Obviously, Becky Lynch and Nia Jax we're seeing. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins don't seem to be done. I mean, give me a couple things you're looking for on the Raw end.
The Raw, and I don't want the Creed brothers to fall on flat after that performance they had on Monday. That was an epic tag team match, probably one of the better tag team matches of the year. Definitely, they are up and coming there. The more I think about Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, it approaches me a little bit to think he's going to win, but with his contract status up, who knows? I also think the Judgment Day is maybe running its course here.
Well, we saw what happened with that our sort of Santa truth, whatever you want to call it, and JD McDonough. I think that the Judgment Day could be. We've seen some kind of tease that with Dom a few weeks ago, and we saw it in the past with Balor and Priest. I mean, you have to wonder. I mean, these things do eventually kind of run its course, like you said.
Oh, absolutely. And then we saw on SmackDown a new group perform with Karrion Kross. Sound like the Author of the Pain and Paul Ellering might return. And
that was real. And we kind of saw like a little for the first time. I think maybe Karrion Kross putting away that, what? He's got some thunder. I mean, we saw all the opponents that he went in the ring with and how they kind of changed right afterwards. I thought that was really well done. That's a good point.
And then I think as well for Karrion Kross to get an opportunity to work with someone like Paul Ellering could really be beneficial to his career to get him more back up the ladder.
Move him up the ladder and maybe kind of jockey him a little bit, maybe where he could be a believable person that could maybe go and be a high mid-card guy again and certainly take in some of the mentions. But, Randy, I have to mention this here before we move on, and certainly we'll have more coverage next week on the air. Although next week I'm actually going to be on a podcast. I think it's somewhere either at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I'll have more details during the week. I'm going to be on the Work in Progress podcast with our guys here on Sportswire Radio, the mayor of Canton, Glenn Abbott, and of course Piles. And we're going to talk about some different things. I'll have more details later in the week after Christmas. But, Randy, I have to bring up Gunther challenging Brock Lesnar. I mean, this to me, you want to talk about challenges. We've talked about Gunther. We've talked about the run that he's been on. I mean, this to me would be a dream match. And maybe this is the moment or the match that could further solidify Gunther as maybe, I don't know if he's the guy eventually that takes Roman's streak, but it's definitely the guy that becomes a world champion and some. I mean, what a challenge that was.
There was rumbling about this match was supposed to happen last year at WrestleMania, but
Yep.
they didn't pull the plug on. I definitely think you have to pull the plug on it this year because Gunther's beating them all at this point, unless you're going to throw Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins kind of in there. But
but they don't need it. Cody
they're on their own
doesn't need it.
path.
Yeah, they don't. Cody doesn't need it. There's no reason to.
And then Gunther still has long. He still has a lot of miles to go. He's just starting his career. So him facing Brock Lesnar, him beating Brock Lesnar to keep the IC title would be something special.
But do you think that this could just be a challenge match and the title's not on the line that way? Because obviously Brock is not going to come in here, I would say, and lose. Maybe some would say. I mean, what do you say to that?
I think how the story's been made with Gunther, how he is becoming pretty much the greatest intercontinental champion of time. No disrespect to Chris Jericho, Pat Patterson, Roddy Piper, but what Gunther's done in the last year to make that title the title it was back in the 80s, back in the 90s, the early 2000s, one of the most prestigious
2001. Yep, when you had guys like Kane, Triple H, Jeff Hardy, sure.
How many times did the IC title main event Raw this year? I can't even remember past years when the IC title had other main events, other than maybe a few times with Shelton Benjamin, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair was a good point. I would say when Ric Flair had that last, I would say, true run before he at one point retired. I think Ric Flair is a good one that you mentioned as an intercontinental champion that certainly brought prestige to the title. I think that's a good one.
Exactly. So I think to beat Gunther, you have to take the IC title, even though Brock probably doesn't think much of the IC title. If you want to beat Gunther, you have to take that IC title because it is up there being one of the top titles in WWE right now.
No, I think no question what Gunther has done with the title, and I think he has brought it back to where you think about it when we were growing up in the 90s and the late 2000s. Let me get to a couple comments here real quick. Xavier Thorne says CM Punk to win the Royal Rumble and win at WrestleMania 40. Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. I mean, it's hard for me to see that Punk is going in here, though, at the very least, in putting somebody over in the Rumble. I could definitely see Punk winning the Rumble. I don't know, though, if he beats Seth Rollins, but I definitely think one of the two variables that could happen.
I think he does, Tom, because there's a lot of people he can work with. I'm excited if he could work with a guy like Drew McIntyre.
But isn't WWE always about you come back, you come in, and you got to put the other person over to make? That's always been kind of the Vince Triple H kind of way, though. No,
I guess we can see, but at this point, because I don't know what they're doing with Damian Priest, because right now Damian Priest is the guy who should beat Seth Rollins with the title with the briefcase. But there's so much cloud surrounding what's happening with Judgment Day. The fact that he really hasn't won a lot of big matches lately himself.
He hasn't won almost any big matches. I mean, Damian Priest hasn't won a big match in, 5 months?
Mm-hmm. So singles match. He's won some big tag team match, but he needs that big singles win. So definitely it really interesting what's going to happen there. So that's why I think if it's not Priest, you have to give the title to someone for Rollins to take off Rollins, and Punk might be the guy.
And I guess the wild card here, and I'll get to the NR hour and I'll get to TBK. I guess the other wild card would be is, Rollins and his wife, Becky Lynch, their contracts are running out.
Hey, listen, they've signed Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch just
And Cody
is
Rhodes
signed.
apparently isn't that far either
Yep.
away. I mean, I feel like Cody just came back, and apparently Cody is also got a contract running out. I mean,
Exactly.
boy,
And
what a
TKO is definitely pushing their. And listen, if Bailey and Charlotte got re-signed and TK wanted to keep them, I definitely see TK wanting to keep the lights of Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes. There's a lot of guys they want to keep on this roster right now because there's so much working for them. And these are the guys who can still carry the company for another 3 to 4 years at least before you have to keep looking elsewhere.
Well, Becky came out and said she wants to retire in WWE, and I imagine where Seth goes, his wife goes. It'd be hard pressed for me to see Becky go to AEW at this point. I mean, Cody Rhodes, I would imagine same thing. I mean, they'll never say never in this business. Drew McIntyre might be the one person that I would say still kind of remains to be seen because he hasn't signed anything yet. So, there's just some certainly things here of note. TBK wants to say he interviewed Ric Flair at the Sports Emmy Awards. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I give you that.
Cool.
I mean, congratulations. Thank you for tuning in. You can follow him at the NR Hour. TBK, our buddy, says we'll see him, maybe next week, although depending on my scheduling, I'm not quite sure we'll be on the air. I just don't know when. As long as it's done right, Lesnar versus Gunther will be great. WWE fumbled hard with Lesnar versus Lashley. That I agree with 1,000%. Lesnar
They should have done
Lashley,
one more match, or someone should have won clean.
it was
That
stupid the way
elimination.
that ended. It was almost like
It didn't make sense.
and
because
Lashley to me is like, I don't ever feel like he's ever coming back up the card. I think he's kind of like losing the way he did tonight. He's almost to me like that's it. I feel like he's like a permanent mid carder. I feel like that's it. I don't know.
Definitely could see Lashley in the mid card right now, but definitely they can build him up again. From what I've heard, this group with the Street Profits and Lashley, they might be turning them heel. I mean face, because they're trying to.
Yeah, but they've been like all over the place. They've been like they were supposed to be heels. They were kind of faces. They're kind of heels. I mean, like I don't know. I mean, I just think Lashley to me. He's
his best work was with MVP. Like we gotta admit, his best work was when he was with
his
MVP.
best work with the Hurt Business. That was the work that put him on the map, and that's probably going to get him in the Hall of Fame. If you think about like that run, that year and a half run, that's probably getting him in the Hall of Fame. Without that run, I mean, I guess eventually because they put everybody in at this point, but like that run put the fame like that, like just that run alone put him in. So that I agree with you. And to be honest, I think Brock might be on the same path as Cena. I think it's appropriate at this time for him to continue to put talent over. I would agree, but Brock is a total wild card. I mean, who knows what's in the mind of Brock? I mean, Brock he should be, but we don't know.
Brock knows the business well, but Brock also knows his name is worth something. He doesn't.
Right, and Brock is not going to go out there and put everybody over like Cena because Cena really cared and he was here for those reasons. I'm skeptical that Brock will do that, but you know what? Maybe you might be right. But to me, Brock, I mean, you never know what deck of cards Brock is playing with. So that's just my point on that. Damian Priest is not championship material yet. We agree on that. I'd say until he breaks free from the Judgment Day. Well, I don't know if they're going to last up until WrestleMania. That's going to be a big question on that, and I don't think it's a premise this time. And Lashley is 100% mid-card help. Totally agree with that. He might need to stick with a manager role. Yeah, I mean, he's got to be, 45, 46 at this point?
He's getting up there.
So realistically, his run ain't going to be that much longer. I mean, I feel like AJ, this is his last, big go-around in terms of, like, being in a top-tier feud. So, yeah, I mean, Lashley... I think that Lashley to me is.
And look at all the other talent that's starting to come up. Like Chad Gable probably deserves another big single push at the time. You got the likes of Braun Breaker, who we're still waiting for.
That was my next one. Carmelo Hayes, you mentioned, is he's going to be here pretty soon.
Grayson Waller. Then you got a guy like Ilya Dragunov as well. And
that was my next one. Ilya Dragunov, what he did to Rich Holland at the main event of NXT on Tuesday. I mean, there's another guy you're going to see up there. I mean. Unless Wes Lee would have been another, but he got hurt. So I mean, ultimately, I don't know where the room is for Lashley. Yeah, Lashley
Dom just signed a 5-year deal. Like, they have talent ready to take the next step.
Well, you know what? You said it 2 years ago, and I laughed. But Dom is going to be a world champion. He's going to by the time that contract runs out, he is going to be a
He
world
might be
champion.
main eventing WrestleMania by then.
He might be He might main event WrestleMania by next year, and you
Yeah.
know that's our buddy Craven Rage. We're gonna see. We saw Craven on Monday's show. We'll probably see Craven, I think, close to New Year's, maybe something like that. I'm sure. I got to look at the schedule at this point. Gotta say, AJ and Randy look the best they have in their careers. Yeah, Randy always looked good though. I mean, Randy's always in phenomenal shape. I mean, AJ, yeah, AJ. I think I agree with you that AJ, I think, has something to prove. He has. This is his last kind of crack at this to prove. I think this is kind of like, I don't want to say it's sink or swim because again, AJ will be a Hall of Famer. There's no question about it. But I think like this is going to where it determines like what we'll see of him in WWE going forward. So those are excellent points. Randy, obviously in the interest of time, because I've got till about 45 more minutes, I want to bring Chris Pizzea on here. I want to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say. I'm looking forward to having more wrestling talk at some point on Friday's show next week, and anything else you might want to say. And I also want to wish Rob Maraska a get well recovery. Rob is dealing with COVID right now, along with the rest of his family. Also, the brute force Brad Weiss, who is finally awakened, said that he's also dealing with some health issues. So we hope that he feels better as well. And we see these guys, if not next week, the following week. So that might be a scheduling issue. And Justin Gianelli as well, also a little under the weather. So we hope that those guys are feeling well. We see them, whether it's next week or in 24. And floor is yours, my friend Randy. Vancouver Canucks jersey. Certainly good time to be a Canucks fan, and good time to be a wrestling fan as always, especially on this station, because I'll be talking so much wrestling that until my voice can no longer handle it. But until then, Randy, maybe you'll take over for me. Maybe you'll speak with Craven Rage. Maybe you'll speak with Mr. Judgment. Maybe you'll speak with Jason Storm. Maybe you'll speak with TBK and Josh Allen from TBW. But until then, I give you the floor. Anything else you want to plug, share, say, fire away.
Thanks, Tom. Always a pleasure. Again, Justin, the Brute Force, and Ron Roscoe. Hope you all the best. Feel better soon. I'll keep it short because I know you're caught on time. I won't talk about NHL.
Give me 60 seconds on the NHL.
Okay, quickly, 60 seconds on the NHL. The Edmonton Oilers' third periods are really coming around. They won a game.
How about last night against the Devils and tonight against the Rangers?
The Devils need to find a way to get John Gibson ASAP because their season is.
Devils are big doo-doo. Our buddy Neil Villapiano I was listening to him on our station, sportswireradio.org, and he is just like in complete disbelief. I mean, the Devils right now are in big doo-doo right now.
You know, exactly. The Vancouver Canucks leading the lead right now. Who would have thought after the start they had after firing Bruce Boudreau last year, how bad their season was? Great story out there for them. And then I think the surprising thing in everything that's happening with this season is the Philadelphia Flyers. They just
they're in second place right now. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, John Tortorella. I mean, really. I mean, they've played amazing hockey the last month.
Exactly. Then the question now, I think, is who's the next head coach to go for the year? We've had 4 head coaches fired with Jay Woodcroft, Dean Evison, with Craig Berube, now DJ Smith. I think Buffalo might be the next one to fire their coach, but I think they might give him a little bit more time. But Rob Brendamore in Carolina, they got to figure things out here.
Yeah, you know, what I was going to say, Carolina's in trouble. They're in big trouble. That race there in the Metro between really Philly down to Carolina and New Jersey. I mean, I know they re-signed him to a contract extension, but I think Lindy Ruff is in trouble there too in New Jersey because that team had expectations to win a Stanley Cup, and you know, they're on the bubble of a playoff spot because the Metro, I mean, there's like 5 teams separated by like 4 points. I mean, listen, we were on the show here last month. Lane Lambert was on the hot seat. Now I say Lindy Ruff is on the hot seat because Lane Lambert, I guess, apparently he's Mr. Genius because he gets a point in every game. And he was basically thumbing his nose at the Islander fans at Isles Twitter. But I guess in a way, he's right because the Islanders have gotten points in something like 13 of the last 14 games. I'm happy about it, but they should have more points in those games.
Well, if it comes to down the playoff, they only miss by a few points. They're going to be pulling your hair out.
They've got the most overtime losses in the league, so let's see. Stay tuned, Randy.
Lindy Ruff, I'm not throwing him under the bus yet because it's more goaltending. This Tom Fitzgerald might need to address this definitely a little bit more because with how Mackenzie Blackwood is playing in San Jose, they definitely could use him right now to stabilize their goalie, but his health issues only been a problem. But we'll see what happens. It's the trade free. There won't be any games up to the 27th after tomorrow, but then the race really starts. Things get much tighter because then you're almost halfway through the season, and your room for errors you don't
Oh
really
my
have.
God. I mean, this is where they always say 3-point hockey games become so vital, and they become so important in how you do in those overtimes. And you're going to see a lot of games tighten up now, because now we're going to be past Christmas, we're going to be past New Year, and that's going to really see where a lot of these teams are, teams like the Islanders, teams like the Flyers, pretenders.
My
What about
Capitals, can they hang on?
they were my next one. I mean, what about the Capitals? And you've got the Penguins, who are kind of stumbling there, and then they've won a couple games here and there. But then you got the Devils in Carolina. Carolina, a team that's been to the conference finals twice and the semifinals 2 other times. I mean, they're on, I think, a pressure to win like now, and if they miss the playoffs, they're in trouble. I mean, Brindamore's a legend there. He might survive because he is a legend. He means so much to that franchise. But there's definitely a window there with that franchise, and an owner that's a real wild card for sure.
100% there. And then out west, it pretty much stabilized there. But the one team you want to keep an eye on is the Calgary Flames, because they don't know. I think they're going to rebuild eventually here soon, but they have a lot of pieces teams are going to look at.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a team that's kind of been on the edge there, and we can find you on Twitter, Instagram at Randy Dillon, DHILLON. And anything else you want to say before I pop Chris on here shortly?
Just want to wish everyone a happy holidays. Quick note on wrestling: the rumor going on, MJF has not signed his extension. If that is true, that pay-per-view on the 30th is going to be very interesting if he walks out with both titles, because his contract is apparently up on January 1st.
And he continues to also add fire to the rumors of him and Liv Morgan as well, because we saw the Iron Claw red carpet, and we saw him and Liv Morgan, and she had something else to say. And well, now she's, as we spoke about it last week on the show, she's got some other issues. Yeah, but the MJF situation, I mean, I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot about that next week on the show. Absolutely, because by then we'll kind of be getting ready for the 30th. But again, happy holidays to you, Randy. I hope you enjoy. Safe travels if you're going out there on the road. I'm looking forward to speaking with you at some point Friday night next week. So we'll figure that out. And thank you as always, my friend.
Thanks, Tom. Take care. Happy holidays.
All right, that was Randy Dillon. He is the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. He's also our wrestling analyst here on Sportswire Radio, and my name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. Going to join us here for another 40 minutes or so here, Mr. Chris Pizzea, host of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals. Chris, how you doing there, buddy?
Good. What's going on, Tom?
I'm hanging in there. I'm keeping busy on a Friday night. We're going to have an abbreviated show here, talk with you some baseball, some NFL for a little bit. Then I'll have a show at midnight with interesting wrestler in Tennessee from Resurrection Wrestling, but that'll be here nor there. But I do want to spend actually a little bit of time on baseball. I know I'm going to go probably shotgun on the football. Look, obviously, we have guys here that are sick, and we certainly wish them well. Good to hear from the Brew Force, Brad Weiss. Obviously, Rob Moroska's, certainly really wish him well with COVID, and Justin Gianelli's out on the shelf as well. But, Chris, we finally get news here about Yamamoto. 12 years, $325 million. I was listening to MLB on Sirius XM. It was Wednesday, and I was listening to Eduardo Perez and Steve Phillips. Obviously, we know him here in New York as the former Mets GM, and they were saying, well, 7 years, 8 years. Then I was hearing Jim Bowden, conversely, the former Cincinnati Reds and Washington Nationals general manager, who, oh, by the way, traded for Ken Griffey Jr. once, and it seemed to be that it was 10 years. Then we were hearing basically a tier of teams, and it seemed like Steve Cohen was trying to come in there and usurp it last minute, and yet the Los Angeles Dodgers, at this point, Chris, I'm pretty much convinced that every free agent, I think somebody posted this on Twitter, it should just be every free agent just goes to the Dodgers. I mean, just that's it. Just go to the Dodgers. Just go to the Dodgers at this point, because they find ways. They've got money under the stocking stuffers. They've got maybe Hanukkah money under the dreidel, whatever it might be. But you got to talk about this here, because the Dodgers pulled yet another one out of the rabbit.
Yeah, you know what? The reports that were coming out, too, is that after he had signed, they said, a lot of the scouts in Japan were saying that he wanted to play in LA and he wanted to play with Ohtani. So at the end of the day, that's what he wanted to do. So he was just using the Yankees and, of course, the Mets, both teams, to kind of bring up his price a little bit, get those bids up. And he got the most from the Dodgers that he wanted to get, and that was his ultimate place that he wanted to go to. I don't think he wanted any part of playing on the East Coast, especially in New York, right? Whether it's the Yankees or the Mets. The Mets matched the offer, right, of the Dodgers. They offered him 325. He turned that down. Yankees offered him less years, but more AAV. So, they offered him 10 for 300 and an earlier opt out as well. So, you know what? The guy wanted to play in LA. He wanted to play with Ohtani. I think once Ohtani signed, that got the ball rolling in his head saying, hey, you know what? This is perfect. I could go on the West Coast.
You think it was
with Ohtani?
So you think then this was like a slow burn, that there was almost like a deliberate kind of stall things a bit because he knew all along in Yamamoto that he wanted to play with Ohtani, even though, again, with the Mets, okay, maybe you made the point, Senga and him, they had some history together. The Yankees made also a great pitch as well. I mean, they had Tanaka, Matsui. Yeah. I mean, they definitely, made the effort as well. But you think all along that he was using teams like the Mets and Yankees kind of like as a stall tactic to almost, let's say, push up the numbers and get what he wanted all along, which was to be a Dodger.
Yeah, I think so, because listen, I think the Yankees would have gave him another 20 million if that was if that was going to push the deal over the finish line for the Yankees. Or listen, the Mets offered him the same amount of money. So obviously, and he could have played with Senga if he wanted to, right, with the Mets. So I think it was a matter of wanting to play on the West Coast, closer to Japan, right, back to where he came from. Yeah. And also to play with somebody who's also Japanese in Ohtani. The Yankees don't have a Japanese player right now. At least the Mets have Ohtani, Senga, right? Yeah. So at least that's somebody. But, the Dodgers have Ohtani, right? The greatest player right now. And, he wanted to play with him. And guess what? The Dodgers are really good, right?
All right, but I got to ask you on
this. Glass now?
Yeah, they got Glass now. Certainly 120 innings he pitched. Sure. You bring in Yamamoto. You got Ohtani. You essentially replaced Ohtani with JD Martinez. I mean, so obviously great on them. But I have to ask you then this question. The pressure has to be on Dave Robertson. We spoke about this a few months ago after the Dodgers were eliminated early on by the Diamondbacks. Oh, yeah. And you bring in all these players. You've got this team that's basically, at this point, a collection of an all-star. They're almost like when I was playing Xbox One or I was playing PlayStation, right. MLB The Show, and I would try, because I know I couldn't really win it with the Mets on my own, but if I wanted to create my own team, this is basically what the Los Angeles Dodgers, they are pretty much what, when we were growing up, at least I was growing up playing, MLB The Show, that I tried to create a team to win a World Series. They've basically done that in real life. The pressure has to be on Dave Roberts for this team. It can't be 100 wins and LCS or even get to the World Series. This team has to win a World Series. I mean, he has to have the most hottest seat of any manager. Is that fair for me to say?
That's totally fair. And that's totally 100% true, and that's been, the little, monkey on his back. I mean, he won the 2020 World Series.
Yep.
That was the abbreviated one, the COVID one, whatever you want to call it. But that was the only time they've won under his, and that was the only one they've won since what, 1980?
Yeah, 88.
88. So It's been a long time since they've won a real
And they've
World
been to the
Series.
playoffs. I think it's 10 straight trips to the postseason. You've only got one World Series, right? 10 straight trips. And
so I think it's time. Like you said, the pressure is not without a doubt on him, because think about all the money that they've spent on Ohtani and Yamamoto and Glass now, and then you add in Freeman and Betts. All this money that they spent, if they don't have any World Series under their belts, that's not going to look good. Listen, they're still going to make a gazillion amount of dollars, but from the sports side of it, not the business side, if they don't win a World Series, I mean, how bad is that going to look when you've amassed all this talent and not won a World Series?
100%. I agree completely. And obviously, I want to say hello to our buddy Ron. Ron, thank you for tuning in. So I want to ask you conversely, because I was listening to a lot of MLB radio, because also the reason I listen to a lot of MLB radio is because I'm going to be on your podcast on Tuesday. So I'm trying to really, make sure.
How about Wednesday? I was going to tell you. I'm sorry.
Get back to me on the time.
Yeah, after the show, we got to talk.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I'll be on your podcast regardless. I'm going to be on your podcast for
without
sure.
a doubt. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you because we're going to talk about your podcast is, the Yankees were a huge topic on MLB radio throughout Sirius. I don't know if you listen to Sirius XM or not, and they were talking a lot about the fact that the Yankees had more pressure on them to get Yamamoto than the Dodgers, actually. So now I want to ask you, obviously you cover the Yankees first on Sportswire. You and Patrick have spoke a lot about this. I posted some clips where a lot of people actually listened to what you guys had to say on Twitter. I thank everybody for tuning in on that. But so the Yankees now, where do they go here? What is plan B for the Yankees now that they didn't get Yamamoto?
Well, their plan B might end up going back to Jordan Montgomery and signing him. I don't think they're going to go for Snell. I think they're going to stay
I
away
agree
from
with
him.
that. I definitely agree with you on that. We spoke about that last week.
Well, we've gotten into him enough. So I think it's either going to be Montgomery or they go into the trade market and go after Dylan Cease of the White Sox, or it's going to be Corbin Burns for the Brewers.
Now, that was the one. Now you're thinking, because Milwaukee seems like Willie Adames and Corbin Burns could be on the market, and that's kind of been a big topic. Milwaukee is still in a very winnable division, but, you're a kind of a mid-market team. Can you hang
And that's
on?
why they might actually wait to trade these guys. They might go into the season like, let's see how we do. Let's see how the season goes. Let's start the season April, May, June. If we start, crapping out early, then these guys are going to go up on the trade market. But you're also taking a chance too, right? Like if you start the season and Burns, is out with a shoulder injury or something like that, his trade value, crashes. So right now is probably, the right time to trade them right now. So
I agree with you on that. And I think also Milwaukee, you've been to the playoffs, 4 of the last 5 years, and you really don't have much to show for it. And you're not going to be able to afford these players. So I would imagine then the Yankees, maybe Montgomery. Do you have enough ability with the Corbin Burns? Maybe can you acquire him with what you have, what they might ask for? Because in Milwaukee, I would think if they're going to trade Corbin Burns, let's say, that would be a lot you have to give up with, because he's a top pitcher and he's exactly what the Yankees would need, I think.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But the thing with Burns is I think only has one more year left before he hits free agency.
Correct.
Cease, I think, has 2 years left. I think he's got multiple years of control. So Cease might cost even a little bit more. So it's really a matter of what these teams are going to ask for. There's no way the Yankees are giving up Volpe or Dominguez, obviously. So they're going to ask for like Spencer Jones, one of their other top prospects. So it's really it's going to be interesting to see. Now, with Montgomery, here's the difference. You sign Montgomery. Montgomery costs nothing but money, right? You're not giving up draft picks. Right. You're not giving up prospects. It's just a crap load of money, right? Blake Snell, on the other hand, you sign him, you got to give up your draft pick because
we spoke about Blake Snell, and I'm skeptical on. I know he's got the 2 Cy Youngs, but I'm skeptical on giving a guy past 30 who's only had really 2 years with 8 wins or more,
right?
And also walks. I think he had 99 walks in 180 innings.
Led the league in walks last year.
That bothered me. 99 walks in 180 innings. I don't know. I want to stick with, especially.
And 180 is the most he's ever pitched, and he's only done that twice. So
no, I'm skeptical with that.
He's a 5-inning starter. If that's what you're getting. You're getting 5 innings. That's it.
And I want to say, Ron, thank you for giving Chris a follow on Spotify. That's, we want people to follow Chris. Do that, by the way. He's on Twitter at Talking Rivals, CP7NY on Threads. Yes, he's on Threads. I'm on Threads. I'm actually building up my Threads account. We got Twitter, Instagram. We got Threads, CP7NY, Talking Rivals, Liftoff Jets on those platforms. Check him out there. And I'm curious real quick, and my first lady of Sportswire, Zena, wants to tell me that the Mets could never win on their own. Well, we're not talking about the Mets right now at the moment. We're talking about the Yankees, so you might want to hold on to that, though. Let's keep our partisanship away for a second. We want to be less partisan here in the world. But, what does this mean also for the other free agents that have kind of been waiting to maybe make the move after Yamamoto? Obviously Bellinger is at the top of the list. What happens with him? JD Martinez is a name, certainly Montgomery, Snell. So, what do you think then, in your opinion, when we see these kind of maybe second tier or 1B list of free agents, when do we think that they start to sign?
I think very soon. Obviously the holidays are here, so it probably won't be this week. Maybe next week in between Christmas and New Year's, but it's going to start really heating up because all these teams that lost out on Yamamoto and Ohtani, they have a lot of money to burn right now, right? Because if anybody was in that market, you're talking, Yamamoto signed for over $300 million. Ohtani obviously signed for $700 million. So if you were even in the discussion with Ohtani, you were up
And
there
you
with
made the point
offering
on
him a
the
lot of money.
Talking Rivals that, listen, for the $300 million, you could do a lot more with that. And, you're giving a player $300 million who has no resume. You would rather have, used it to fill 2, maybe even 3 parts that you need. No?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, now the Yankees, you were saying what the pivot move will be. I would sign Montgomery as the starter. I would even go after Josh Hader to be the closer, and then you could move Holmes into the setup role, or you could keep Holmes as the closer, sign Jordan Hicks, the flamethrower that I think he ended up last season with Toronto. So you could sign him to fortify the bullpen. You could sign like a guy like Giolito or Montas to be like your long man,
Yeah,
6 man out of the bullpen.
Giolito was talked a lot about, I think,
I mean, he's not that good. He's been pretty
but
bad lately.
that's a reclamation project, but it's basically like a no risk, high reward type of deal. Basically, that's why he gets brought up a lot.
Yeah. He would be more for me like the second starter you sign. The main starter's got to be like a Montgomery, or you go into the trade market, like I said, and and you give up a bunch of prospects for either Burns or Cease. So it's really depending on what they're willing to do. I think they should sign guys instead of trading away a bunch of prospects.
Yeah,
again.
I kind of agree with you on that. We're talking with Chris Bizet. Chris does a great job for us here on Sportswire Radio. He's the co-host of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, and the owner of Sportswire Radio here. We're hanging out for about another half hour or so until I get a little bit of break and go back on at 12 o'clock with Resurrection Wrestling's Neff, their former world champion. But, I agree with you because I look at it. I don't know if I'd want to give a guy so much money where I don't know anything about him. And on top of that, I can go out and be able to, fill some parts and also still, I think, do more for my team because the Yankees clearly are. I mean, I definitely think they're a contender, but they need that 1 or 2 more pieces to make them a World Series contender.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely need more pitching, without a doubt. Their lineup is pretty much set. I mean, they could make moves if they wanted to, but you'd have to trade a guy like Torres to, because DJ's not going anywhere. So you'd have to probably trade Torres at this point if you're going to change anything. If not, I think the lineup is set. They have their benches set more or less. I think now the only where they could improve, and they need to improve, is the rotation and in the bullpen. They need to add at least one more arm in the bullpen, and the rotation, you need one more starter because after Cole, it's a lot of question marks, right? You got Rodon coming back.
I don't even know about
disaster.
Rodon. Yeah,
you don't know. Cortez is coming back from an injury.
Another guy I don't know.
Right. Schmidt is coming off the most innings he's ever pitched, last season. So you don't know how he's going to react. Is he going to just, start pitching like that, 160, 170 innings? Or is he going to take a step back? So you got a lot of question marks after Cole. And Cole's another year older. I'm not worried about that. But, he's the one constant in that rotation. The rest are all question marks. And the Yankees got to get – Montgomery to me fits perfect, right? Montgomery, he's proven he can pitch in New York. And he's also now proven he can pitch in the postseason and in the World Series. So for me, I would sign him. It's only money. You're not giving up picks or anything. Sign him. And then start fortifying the bullpen and try to find maybe a long man.
We'll certainly see. And our First Lady of Sportswire, Zena, has also followed you on Spotify. So you get another follow. Congratulations for that. She'd asked me, where are you on Spotify? And I didn't answer because I was obviously I didn't answer. I was trying to do 2 things at once, but she's found you on Spotify at Talking Rivals. So we thank the First Lady for that. Okay, so real quick, I got the Mets end of it. I know where they're going. I want to ask you very quickly on the Hall of Fame ballot before I spend about 15 or 20 minutes on the NFL. I'm hearing different things. Adrian Beltre's on the ballot. I imagine I'll talk whenever I come on to the Talking Rival. I want to talk about, and I want to talk about the Hall of Fame ballot because I'm really into the Hall of Fame ballot this year. There's a lot of guys I actually got to see their entire career. So this is actually an interesting one for me. But, obviously Adrian Beltre's on the ballot. Then you've got guys like Todd Helton and Billy Wagner who are like right there. Yeah. Then you've got some other guys. David Wright for us here locally, not going to be in the Hall of Fame. Will be a question of whether he gets 5% or not.
All right, let me ask you something. As a Met fan, do you think they're going to retire his number?
Yes.
You
Me
do.
personally, I'm not a believer in retiring guys' numbers who had very good careers, but considering the Met history, we've gone about this. I mean, Rob Morosky would tell you like the entire history from 1962. I obviously haven't seen it since 1962, but I think the Mets tend to be, in terms of retiring players, a lot more open to that now with Cone. But I also think that the Met history, I mean, after Seaver, I mean,
Yeah.
who was really great players that played a lot of their career with the Mets. I mean, Piazza, yes, Piazza played, but he played 7 years, 5 full years as a Met. Strawberry and Gooden were certainly what ifs. I mean, so if you look at the body of work, I mean, Jerry Koosman, but he had some issues. That's only now he's been because he was in jail, I think,
Right.
for some gambling debt. But in terms of, I think John Franco's number might be retired. He's not retired. He's in the Mets Hall of Fame. But I think in terms of Wright's career, yeah, he'll probably get his jersey retired. He'll probably get it retired because I think that the overall, what he meant to the fan base he'll probably get his number retired. That'd be
Yeah.
my answer to you.
I
But he's
mean,
not a
it's-
Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. There's no way to
No,
me
I
he's a
don't
Hall
think
of
so. I
Famer.
don't think he had the long enough career. You know, he needed
No.
a few more years.
No.
He was on the way there though.
Yeah, I think that if
stayed
you looked
healthy.
at his career up to about 2011, yeah, I think that maybe 11, even 12, I think that when he started to kind of break down, he probably would have a very strong case to get in.
Yeah.
But no, but I'm curious. Adrian Beltre, obviously automatic.
Yeah.
But, what do you think then about guys like Todd Helton, Billy Wagner? Billy Wagner to me is like the most fascinating one because he went from 10% on the ballot to now he's almost right there. Then you've got guys like Gary Sheffield who just for whatever reason weren't technically roid users, but were kind of in the Mitchell report. And you've got other guys like Carlos Beltran, who we know I think are being held up for what happened a few years ago at the Astros. But I want to talk about this obviously when I go into your show eventually. Like, what do you think in this year's Hall of Fame ballot?
I think with Wagner, I think he should get in because I think eventually they're going to have to start acknowledging
He
the
had more
closer role
strikeouts than Mariano Rivera in his career. You know,
Right.
that? He
Yeah.
had
No,
more
he's
career
right up
strikeouts.
there. I mean, listen, he's not the greatest like Rivera is, but listen, he's one of the best closers that have ever pitched. Obviously, I think the Hall of Fame should start recognizing it, especially now how the bullpen is being so much more used. It's so much more important now than it was 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Absolutely.
So
No
I
question
think,
about that.
times have changed. So I think the bullpen guys, the closers should get more acknowledgement in the Hall of Fame. So I think he gets in. Todd Helton should get in. He was
Do you think Wagner
consistently-
gets in this year, though? Do you think he gets in this year?
Well,
'Cause
he
he's
was that close. I think so. I think so. Sheffield's the one. I don't know if he's going to get in because he's connected to steroids. Whenever you think of Sheffield, you think steroids. Right?
And this is what his last year on the ballot, right?
Yeah.
50,
I mean, I hope he gets in. I'm on this side of these guys should get in no matter what. As long as they didn't test positive, they should get in. Right? Like Bonds, I thought should get in. Clemens should get in.
Well, Bonds, I always said if you were going to go down that road before steroids, he was still a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Clemens, before the performance enhancing
Right.
drugs, was a Hall of Famer. Anybody else? I don't know.
And you know what? There's guys in the hall that have probably taken steroids, right?
Well, I mean, what's the old? I mean, Ty Cobb was a racist, right? They didn't take him out of the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
Actually, he was cleared. Ty Cobb, if you
okay, he was cleared. Okay,
there's books out there that have
he
turned
was
the
cleared.
corner on him,
Okay,
so.
all right. I mean,
Well, whatever. No,
You know-
but I know what you mean. Like nobody's totally clean in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, I mean, there's,
for sure.
there's
I
guys.
mean,
Listen,
how about the
there's
Coke?
other-
Listen, Tim Raines was in the Coke scandal with cocaine back in the '80s. That was a devastating scandal. I mean, a lot of guys really got in trouble with that. I mean, there was guys that I think were blacklisted from baseball, like guys like Ron LaFleur comes to mind. I mean, so that was an issue. Yeah, I mean, Sheffield's at 55%. Andrew Jones, another guy that's become like the war darling, and
Yeah,
when
he should
he
get
was-
in eventually, even if it's like a Veterans Committee type of thing. I mean, how many Gold Gloves? He had like 12 Gold Gloves as a
Well,
center
he's
fielder.
moving up. He's at 58%. He's got, I think, 4 more tries. So, I mean, that's.
It was like the back end of his career, got really bad offensively, but he's still, I mean.
I guess the argument is Ozzie Smith got in the Hall of Fame. Should Andrew Jones, who was kind of the Ozzie Smith of that position?
I look at it this way. I've always said it this way. When you look at a player, was he one of the best players at his position during his era? Forget about comparing him to pass guys, but was he one of the best players at his position?
I would say defensively, Andrew Jones
Was
for about 8 years was 8 years,
right.
maybe 8, 9
And
years.
offensively, he had like 400 home runs, right? I mean,
Yeah, he had 50 home runs one year. Yeah, he was a 30 home run
towards
guy
the end,
for
he got,
another year.
you know, his average isn't that high, right? His average is
Oh,
pretty low, I
I think it's
think.
like 250, 251.
Yeah.
Maybe? I mean, it's
So that's really holding him back. But defensively, I mean, you can't get much
254
better.
lifetime average the crack staff gives. Yeah, he's 254, 434 home runs, 1,289 RBIs, 1,933 hits, 1,204 runs scored. Yeah, I mean, defensively, I mean, he's at 58%. He's moved up. Helton, you think gets in this year though? 72.2%. I mean, I would think he's getting in.
Yeah,
Right?
he's right there. So I think he gets in because who else are you putting in? I mean, listen, I still thought Jeff Kent should go in. He's the career home run leader for second basemen.
Joe
Um,
Mauer. Joe
Mauer, I think, should get in. I think he should get in. What he did as a catcher before
Mauer,
he was great. His first part of his career before he switched to first base, and
I
before they
think
moved
Joe
to designated.
Mauer. I think of all the people on the first year ballot, I mean, there's a lot of guys to me that were just very goods, and I don't know if they'll get 5%. I mean, Chase Utley, nah. David
Listen,
Wright, I
Kent's
think
not going in. Chase Utley shouldn't go in.
David Wright to me, I think it'll be. I don't know if he'll make 5%. Bartolo Colon's not getting in. Matt Holland not getting in.
No.
Adrian Gonzalez, very good Hall of Fame, but not getting in.
No.
Jose Bautista had 4 great years with the Blue Jays, not getting in.
No.
You know, Jose Reyes, had some personal issues off the field, which will probably hurt his standing, but not getting in. Victor Martinez, not getting in.
Nope.
James Shields, not getting in. Definitely not getting in.
No,
Brandon Phillips, not getting in.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Mauer, to me, I think should definitely get over the 5%. He'll get a lot of votes. I mean, his WAR is 55.2. Utley's at 64.5. But Utley, to me, didn't even have 2,000 hits. He was, again, a
Really
great
good player.
postseason hitter. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Adrian Gonzalez, to me, another guy, had 2,050 hits, 317 home runs. No, thank you. Matt Holliday, 316, 1,220. No way. Victor Martinez, 246 and 1,178. I don't really see that as a Hall of Fame. Jose Reyes does have 517 stolen bases, won a batting title, 1,100 runs scored. But if Kenny Lofton didn't get in, Jose Reyes ain't getting in. I mean, I think Helton, we spoke about him on Sportswire many times. I think Helton will get in. He'll probably get in this year. I think Wagner should get in this year, but that stupid 68% and these stupid writers, they may make him wait one more year just to hell with him. So I think, I'm going to say Beltre gets in. Helton gets in. Wagner and Jones probably miss out, if I were to guess.
I'm going to say Jones does. I still think Wagner's going to get in.
You think Jones jumps up that much then to 75?
Well, what's Wagner at now?
68.1.
Ooh, he might be next year. Helton.
He went from 52 to 68.
All right, yes, all right. So maybe he gets in next. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just.
I just feel like these writers, these old guard writers, are gonna say don't put him in, and he gets in on the last one. Yeah, but he's 7-time All-Star, 2.3 ERA. He's in the Astros Hall of Fame. He led. He had 40 saves or more twice. He ended his career with 37 saves. I mean, that's 1.43 ERA. I mean, he ended his career, frankly, maybe he had the best season of his career. He was 7-2. He had 69 innings, 104 strikeouts. I mean, Wagner is one of the rare people that ended his career like on a high note.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. He was good pretty much everywhere he went, with the exception, I would say, of a cup of coffee with the Red Sox. But he was good there too. I mean, he was good everywhere he went. I mean, there really is just.
And right now he's sixth in saves, career saves.
Yeah.
But that's going to change because Jansen's right behind him. Kimbrel is right behind him.
I was going to say Kimbrel. Yeah, 422 saves. I mean, that's.
Does Wagner have a champion? He doesn't have a World Series championship, right?
No, he does not. He went to the postseason. I can tell you right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in his career, though. Played in the postseason a lot, though. He played in the postseason a lot.
All right. Because that's
400
one thing. Kimbrel and Kenley Jansen both have World Series, I think, to their names. Kimbrel definitely does.
Yeah. Well, Kimbrel's not done. There's no question that Kimbrel is going to be an interesting one. And TBK wants to say Cal Ripken is 100% clean, but he's
No
okay.
doubt.
But what was it saying in general, though? In general, not I mean you're the Baltimore guy, but yes, we mean generally speaking. I want to talk for a few minutes on football. Obviously, some other stories of note. I didn't get a chance to speak with you last week on the show about the Chargers situation, with them basically getting rid of their general manager and the coach. I'll run through a few games of note. I won't really be able to pick them based on the interest of time, but with the Chargers situation the way it is, does that mean Bill Belichick is going to be coming right in and maybe become the next general manager and coach? I have to ask you, because people have asked me throughout the week on this. And what do you think about the situation with the Los Angeles Chargers and possibly Bill Belichick?
To me, to me, it's the perfect fit. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to do it, but if you were Belichick, where else would you want to go? Because there you got the franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. You got talent in on the team. It's not like you got to rebuild a team. You just got to come in and do your thing, I think, and be a great coach.
The only other scenario I would say with Belichick, and I think you diffused one of my listeners yesterday in my neighborhood, we were speaking about this, and I said New Orleans maybe with Bill Belichick.
Maybe. That's a possibility too.
You got Derek Carr there. You're in a weak division.
Derek Carr's not that good.
But Justin Herbert hasn't improved much yet either. Now the upside he's much younger, but I mean, in terms of the body of work there, the Chargers have been pretty disappointing. I mean, I would think if Belichick's going to continue to coach, he's going into a win now situation, though.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't think he's going to. Well, think about what other spots are there. The Bears, maybe. All right, he's not taking the Panthers, right? Forget about the Panthers. He's not going there. That's out.
Well, you know what? I shouldn't say this, and I'm going to say hello to John Gonzalez in a second. And I shouldn't say this. Your heart's going to go, basically. Your blood pressure's going to go up. Your wife's going to kill me when I say this. But my listener had said the Jets.
No, he'll never come back to the Jets.
That's what I said. That's after 2000. Yeah.
I don't think he's not a fan of the Jets. Trust me.
Yeah.
I don't
he's not going there. Yeah. No way. Yeah. I agree 1,000% on that. Yeah.
I think the Chargers, if the Bears get rid of their head coach, but they're playing much better now. So
yeah, Bears lost a tough one. I mean, they're 5-9. They're getting the draft pick. I mean, the Bears would make a lot of sense.
The Raiders, maybe.
I said the Raiders yesterday too, because I think you still have a good situation there with the Raiders. But again, Antonio Pierce, does he come back?
Right. I mean, they've been staying in games here. They're not, they're even with a third string, their backup quarterback, right? Their rookie, what's his name, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, they've won. I think they're 3-5 with Pierce, if I'm not mistaken. 3-4, 3-5.
Yeah.
So not terrible. I mean,
No. It's what if Dallas gets knocked out in the first round of the playoffs? Do you think they would fire him?
You know what? McCarthy, you got a trigger happy owner. Yeah. You know what?
I just can't see Belichick working with Jerry Jones. That doesn't seem like I don't know. That seems very odd.
It's oil and vinegar. It's oil and vinegar.
Exactly.
But Dallas would be. But you got to think though, Dallas would be enticing because Dallas. In the brute force, Brad Weiss is going to come back on the show, and we obviously wish him well. He's told us that he's had some health issues, but for John Gonzalez, that was for you. But I think to me with Dallas, I mean, that's like the brass ring. I mean, I almost think if you're Jerry Jones and you get knocked out in the first round, you got to go after Bill Belichick. You got to give him everything and in the kitchen sink.
Yeah, I agree. Any team that's looking for a coach should absolutely go with him. The problem with Belichick is that the last few years, he has not been great with the draft and, from the general manager side, and he does everything. So that's the thing. Unless he's going to come and say, I'm going to pick my GM and he's going to do that, and I'm just going to coach like that, then, maybe a team like the Cowboys take him or, some other team. But I personally, I just think the Chargers, because the Chargers need something because they have the players. It's not like the Chargers are not a good team. I think they're a very good team.
Hey, listen, they were a lot of people's Super Bowl picks this year.
Right. And you've been watching football a long time. I have too.
I have.
The Chargers have been like this forever, right? They
And
have a
since
good
I'm a
team.
kid, I would say my first memories of football was actually when the Chargers had Stan Humphries as quarterback and they won the AFC championship against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh in Three River Stadium.
Yeah.
But really, since that moment, I mean, and they've had good quarterbacks. I mean, Rivers was good for a long time. I mean, you've had Herbert. I mean, yeah, they've been pretty much underwhelming.
You had Dan Fouts. You had a Hall of Fame. If you want to go further back, I mean, even then, they've had great teams, but
Schottenheimer was coach. You had Riley as coach. Yeah, I mean, they just haven't. I don't know why that franchise has never quite been able to get over the hump. They just haven't been able to get there. I don't know what it is. I mean, and I don't get it. And let me get to a ton of comments here, and maybe I'll hang out a few minutes later. We'll see how I feel. But let's see here. I'm on the fire Joe Berry trend.
Okay.
All right. How you doing, John Gonzalez? Merry Christmas to you. Keep Bill far away from my team, which is the Green Bay Packers. I don't think
he's going to Green Bay. I don't think they're firing that coach.
Bill should be with the Giants. I mean, I would think Dable comes back, though, right? I mean,
I would. I guess so. I guess he's coming back. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Giants have history with Belichick. I mean, it's not
right.
horrible.
Yeah, no, the history's there with him, and they, he still likes the Giants, and I think they still have a good relationship.
I mean, Giants are 5-9 this year, 1-3 or 4. Dable cost them a couple games. Let's say they go 7-10, 6-11. I mean, it really does get you another year in this. He won a playoff game last year. Yeah, I think that the Giants keep Dable for another year.
At least one more year.
Something. Yeah. I want to say a little to our buddy Rob Maraska. Rob, I hope you're feeling better with COVID. Obviously, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you hopefully next week. TBK says, where else? To a retirement center? Dude is a dinosaur. He had an absolute storybook career in New England, even though but he's not retiring, though. He's not retiring.
I mean, he probably wants that record, right? Most wins by a head coach. So,
yeah, I think he's going to hang on. I think that I think so too. He gets one more payday. He gets one more payday out there. So I think that would be my thought on that. But yeah, he has nothing to prove. I think that point's fine.
Yeah.
Brood is the new Grinch. Well, John Gonzalez, the Brute Force Battle Ice he messaged us in our Sportswire Radio group on Twitter, and he finally said that he hadn't basically responded to anybody and that he just didn't, and he was very apologetic about it. And he said he's under the weather this week. He's sick, but he's going to try to be back with us next week. So hopefully we'll get him in time for the playoffs. So, John, thank you for asking. The Chargers were relevant with Don Coryell, right, in the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, Dan Fouts. You mentioned Dan Fouts there. Yep. Sure. That's a good point. If you ask Carl Banks about Bill, he will tell you Bill is a Giant. Yeah, I mean, I just think it depends with the Giants. The Giants never seem to be that franchise, though, that pulls the trigger. They never seem to be that franchise to pull the trigger.
And they need a quarterback too. I mean, DeVito is not going to be the starter next year.
No way.
Right? I mean, and is Daniel Jones the answer either? I mean,
I don't know. Daniel Jones really. It was a Daniel Jones-like year for him, question mark. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I think wherever he goes, he wants to be set. He doesn't want to start rebuilding, drafting a quarterback or signing one or something. He wants that guy there.
I mean, New Orleans to me, I think is a possibility because I don't know what they do with Dennis Allen after losing yesterday. That was a winnable division for them.
Yeah.
I think the Chargers are obvious. The Raiders, owner there, loves to pull the trigger. I mean, the Raiders, I don't know if the Raiders are closer to winning than the Chargers are. I mean, I don't know.
It's interesting. I like the Chargers situation the best. The thing is too, like, would Belichick be willing to move from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast? That's a big move.
He might go because of the weather. He might like the weather. People from New York and New Jersey historically tend to move to warmer places.
I'm there. I love it. Yeah, I'd rather be in West Coast weather.
Well, you know what? I used to be, and I may disappoint our first lady of Sportswire, Biznina, on this. I used to be a cold weather person, but now I just want like warm weather all year round, or at least like warm-ish weather.
Right.
I mean, because I am tired of these, depressing, cold, 30-degree days like today. Let me get to some comments here. Ron wants to say TBK needs to focus on the 49ers, meaning the
Big game
Baltimore
Monday night.
Francisco
Oh, we're
game.
definitely going to talk about that tonight. I
I'll
think.
talk about it.
Yeah.
It's when did I start playing for the Ravens? I don't need to focus on anything. Lamar and the boys need to focus on the 49ers. I'm just along for the ride.
There you go.
All right. Bill is a legendary coach, not a GM. I agree. Keep Tommy Cutlets. Tommy Cutlets was a great story for a while, but the party was over. I think it was John Gonzalez said very similar to when the Knicks had Jeremy Lin. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Nice story. Hey, the guy is eating it up too, right? He's going to all these pizzerias and he's doing signings and stuff like that. Good for him.
I wish I could go to some pizzerias for free, but they're not going to let me. Not yet. But let's talk about a few games. Obviously, in the interest of time, I'll hang out here for 10 or 15 minutes. For those that are here with us, I'm actually going to be on in another segment here in about, I would say, 50 or so minutes with wrestling in a special segment. But I'm going to hang out here for maybe 10, maybe 15 more minutes tops. But let's get to a couple games here while I have an interest of time. I think a couple games I'm watching this week, Chris, would be certainly Cincinnati and Pittsburgh for obvious reasons. I think Cincinnati's back on track. Pittsburgh pretty much is fallen by the wayside, but it's an important game. Cleveland and Houston is a very big game. I think it's a huge game.
And who would have thought that? Who would have thought that?
Right. I think you got a number of teams where you got Coach of the Year candidates. You got Houston. You got Indianapolis. I mean, you got some, really, really good. I would even say Harbaugh and Baltimore Coach of the Year candidate. I mean,
Cleveland.
You got some. My next one, Cleveland. I mean, you got Tampa Bay and Jacksonville, Miami, Dallas. I mean, Miami, Dallas. You could make the case should be the, Monday night, Sunday night game. You got San Francisco and Baltimore. So give me a few games that you're watching here that you think are important.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are definitely the ones. The Cleveland Houston game. Right? Like 2 months ago, if somebody would have said Cleveland Houston's going to be a big game late December, you would have laughed at them. But now we're sitting here, Cleveland and Houston. Cleveland's the number 1 seed, right, in the playoffs. Houston is right there. So, yeah, that's a big game. And CJ Stroud is out again for Houston. But you know what? They won last week without him.
Houston
so maybe
could win this. Houston could win this. What a story would be. Houston.
They could win the division.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's in doo-doo because they're going to Tampa Bay, and I don't like what I see from Tampa, from Jacksonville going into Tampa Bay right now.
Baltimore could technically get caught by Cleveland. If they lose this week and Cleveland wins, they're only a game out. So, and Cleveland, I'll be honest, wouldn't it be amazing if it's Cleveland against Baltimore in the AFC Championship game? You got Flacco.
Oh my God.
Cleveland.
The ghost of Art Modell and the move and
then what about if the Browns win that? Then they go to the Super Bowl and they'll play the 49ers, who the 49ers last beat the Ravens beat the 49ers back with Flacco was their last
2012 game. So. Yeah, the 20. Yeah, I mean, Cleveland, Flacco throws back-to-back.
This is a great story, I got to say.
Cleveland, listen, Flacco back-to-back 300-yard games. They come from behind against the Bears. Flacco has turnovers early. I mean, yeah, Cleveland and Baltimore. I mean, that's, and Cleveland, again, has never been to a Super Bowl. I mean, teams like Cleveland and Detroit.
Could be the year. You never know.
I mean,
and you know what? This year, and think about it real quick. Like, before the season started, we thought the AFC was going to be the great conference, right? Powerhouses and it hasn't, right? The Kansas
Miami, I don't really know what I make of Miami. Okay, Baltimore's been good. I don't know if let's see what they do against San Francisco. Then we can certainly judge.
That's a good test for them.
Kansas City's been very mortal this year.
Yes.
Buffalo has certainly been very mortal.
They're hot right now, though, which is good for them.
But they're going to have to win out to get in, most likely. I mean, Buffalo's going to, have to go out and probably win out to be safe to get in. Cincinnati had the injury with Burrow. So, yeah, I mean, Jacksonville took a huge step down in the second half. Even if they sneak in, it's going to certainly be by the skin of their teeth.
This is the year, right, that a team like Cleveland or maybe Buffalo, if they could sneak into the playoffs the way they're playing, that's the team to watch out for because they're playing really good right now. And I've always said it. You could play whatever you want in September and October, get your wins, whatever. Now's the time to look impressive. If you look good now in late December and you're heading into the playoffs, that's
you want to have attention. Yeah.
So Buffalo right now, and last week, they played like a playoff team, right? They ran the ball and they just destroyed Dallas.
Yeah, Buffalo looked good. Buffalo, that was a back-to-back signature wins. Kansas City, Dallas. Buffalo would be dangerous to play. I think
I
they're
still
going to
don't
have.
trust them. Right. I'm with you. I don't trust them, but
Yeah, they never do well in a play. I mean,
no.
they win a game, but they never go far in the playoffs. I mean, Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, I guess Buffalo could. I mean, there's a lot of these. There's a gluttony of these 8-6s right now. What Cleveland we know is 9-5. They have the first wild card.
And you
Right?
know
Then
what? Outside of Kansas City, when you think about it, who do you trust in the AFC in the playoffs?
None of them.
Right?
None of them.
Right?
Zero. I don't trust any
Right.
of them.
Baltimore still has a lot to prove in the playoffs. Miami still has a lot to prove. Buffalo, we just said it. Cleveland, never in the playoffs.
Cincinnati, I don't know what Browning is quarterback. I mean,
Right.
they've won, but I don't know now.
So the
Jacksonville,
AFC
I
to me
wouldn't
is
trust.
totally wide
Houston,
open.
I wouldn't. Houston, I wouldn't trust. Indianapolis, I wouldn't trust.
No.
I mean, if Denver sneaks in,
Maybe because Sean Payton and Russell Wilson is there, and you feel
yeah.
better about them. But
Although Denver, I think, has to win out. I think Denver has to win out.
Yeah.
I have to think. I don't know if they could pull that out and then get the help. I mean, for those teams, I mean, yeah, they'll get New England this week. They should get one. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, of all those teams, I totally don't trust any of them. TBK wants to say all eyes should be on Monday night. Ravens 49ers is game of the year. I said
no
what
doubt.
I said.
No doubt.
49ers are looking past us. I don't know.
It could be a Super Bowl preview. I'll say it. TBK. I'm with you. I think this could be. Yeah, this absolutely could be it. But again, Baltimore is one of those teams that has to prove it in the playoffs.
John Gonzalez has a good point. I'm sticking with KC, but Cleveland's the team to watch.
Yeah, I said it, man. Cleveland. It might be the year. And having a guy like Flacco, I'm not saying he's a great quarterback, but he's that calming influence on that team. When things are not going right. Hey, don't worry about it. We're good.
I got a bone to pick. Why did it work with Cleveland with Flacco and not with the Jets? I know. I told you. Somebody asked me that question yesterday morning, and they stopped me and said, Tom. I said, yes. His name was Joe. And I said to Joe, Joe, okay, what do you ask me? He's like, Flacco back-to-back 300-yard games. Why has it worked with him in Cleveland and didn't work with us? And we had him for 2 stints. And I was like, I don't know.
The simple answer, coaching. That's the simple answer.
Good point.
And number two, I don't want to say injuries because Cleveland's been hit with just as many injuries as we have, as the Jets, right? Both their tackles have been out. Their starting quarterback, they're down to their third string quarterback right now. I mean, it's Joe Flacco, but still, they're down to their third string quarterback. Actually, their fourth string. This is their fourth quarterback they used. And their most important offensive weapon was hurt early in the season. If you remember, Nick Chubb got hurt.
Yeah, yes, I do.
First month of the season, I think he was hurt. It was early in the season. So if you're getting rid of all those guys and they're still in it. I mean, not just in it, but right now they're leading the wild card race. So
they got the first wild card. They have that first wild card. And, and I think that they're probably going to make the playoffs. So because it's 3 spots, they got 9 wins already. So
I mean, they're playing with house money and they're running away with it. So yeah, that's a team you got.
I would like to see. You know what? I agree with you. I would like to see Cleveland win a playoff game.
Be a great
I think Cleveland's a franchise that never been to a Super Bowl and, never really been anywhere. And Lamar has a lot to prove in the playoffs. I don't see it. It's in his head. We're going to find out because they're going to be back in the playoffs. I don't know if
it's in his head or not, but it's definitely, listen, he's been playing great this year. That's why, and he's definitely throwing the ball better than he's ever thrown in his life. So I think Lamar's playing his best ball he's played. So if they make it, it's going to be this year because we talked about it. Kansas City, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, Kansas City, I think at some point you have to wonder teams. I don't know if Kansas City is a dynasty or not. It's hard to define. 2 Super Bowl wins, 3 appearances. Maybe it is, but you've been to a championship game or a Super Bowl 6 consecutive years, right? I mean, eventually you have to run out and kind of get worn down from that, the amount of football you play. And I mean, we saw with the Yankees in the late 90s and early 2000s, it caught up the postseason success. The Braves in the 90s and the 2000s. We've been waiting for the shoe to drop with the Dodgers. We spoke about them. The Penguins in hockey, for example, had the back-to-back cups. And, certainly the Lakers and the Bulls in basketball throw in there in the mix, the Heat with LeBron. But I think it's so hard to kind of continue in football. I mean, the Patriots did it, sure.
Yeah.
But you have to wonder,
We'll
is
never
this
see
the
that
year?
again.
Yeah, is this the year Kansas City, the shoe drops in the postseason? TBK wants to say, I'd love nothing more to see KC or Cleveland in the playoffs. And I said, all right, I'm going to quote you on this, and I bring you back to Sportswire next week or the following week. Mahomes does not make a Super Bowl appearance. Well, that's my question, because I've been over there
I'm
for
with him.
5 years, and I've been waiting for that moment. I mean,
I think it's between one of three teams. I'll say it now. Baltimore, Cleveland, or I'm going to throw Buffalo in there if Buffalo gets in there. One of those three teams will be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Buffalo, because you know what? You got a quarterback that's been there. A coordinator was changed.
Mm-hmm.
It might, maybe they get hot. Yeah, I think Buffalo would be a good one. Buffalo would be good. Cleveland, because you got the defense. Baltimore, because you're going to have home field. I mean, Kansas City, maybe they get I don't even know if they're going to get the 2 seed on, because I think Miami's ahead of Kansas City right now. So I don't even know if Miami.
And I don't know. Miami hasn't beaten a good team yet. So
Miami hasn't won a playoff game in almost 25 years. And I don't know what to make of Miami in a playoff spot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, the Ravens are the old Cleveland Browns. Yeah, they are. It's a very good point. Bryce Young throws a pick 6 in the first 5 minutes.
Possibly.
Good point. Ravens are the best bird team in the league. Yeah, I mean, they're playing better than the Eagles. They're certainly better than the Falcons. They're better than Brad Weiss's Falcons.
Yeah.
Facts. If we make the playoffs, I want to face Dallas, but I don't know if Green Bay's making the playoffs. I mean, the Rams won yesterday, Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to win out. Green Bay's going to have to win out.
If you played them, you're going to be playing them in Dallas, and that's where Dallas plays great.
Don't count out Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati's right there. They've bounced back and won 3 in a row. All right, so in the NFC, real quick, in the interest of time, in the NFC, is it cut and dry at San Francisco and everybody else? Or you buy into Dallas? I mean, Detroit's kind of the NFC's version of Miami, I think, pretty much. And then,
to me, Dallas is right, and that's why their matchup this week is interesting. Dallas against Miami, because neither team has beat a good team yet. Well, Dallas beat Philly, so. But other than that, neither team has really.
They looked weak against San Francisco in prime time. They even lost to Arizona this year. I mean, Dallas.
And Dallas,
they struggled to beat Seattle on Thursday night. Yeah,
right. I mean, not just Dallas, but two things: that Dallas has to beat a good team, and they have to win on the road. Dallas has not been good on the road this year.
Dallas is never good on the road, though. Let's be honest. They've never been good.
To me, it's just an interesting game to watch because of both teams just not being able to beat a good team. So one of them is going to do it this week. It's just a matter of which one.
Unless they tie.
Unless they tie, right? That's possible.
That's funny.
That would be a perfect ending.
And the other matchup, Detroit and Minnesota, we see these teams face off twice the last 3 weeks of the season. What do you see?
Yeah, I think Detroit wins. I think Detroit's another team. They're playing better now.
That was a big win against Denver. Big win against Denver. Big win.
And their defense is playing better. Their offense is going to score points. That's not the problem.
John's got a good comment, and I'll get to that in a minute. So that in the NFC, we got this wild card picture, and the first lady of Sportswire, Zena, wanted me to stop hating on the Yankees. But I think I referenced the Yankees and sports teams that eventually the dynasties ended. I think that was kind of the general point.
That's all right.
But that's okay.
You're
but
we
still love. I wasn't hating on the Yankees. So thank you for defending me on that very much. So the first lady knows. But I want to talk about in the wild card picture real quick here. You got a shorter gluttony of teams. The Rams got a big win last night against the Saints. I think the Rams have played really good football the last 5 or 6 weeks. Good. Peyton has done a phenomenal job, and John has them as his long shot that maybe could get a run. So we got Green Bay, which is, to me, lost to the Giants and lost to Tampa Bay in Lambeau last week. Sorry, Ron, about that. You've got Atlanta, meh.
Yeah.
You've got New Orleans, which took a step back. You've got Minnesota that's in the driver's seat for this spot. And then you've got Tampa first place at 7-7. Usually South mediocrity. And then you've got Seattle, which got a win when they were left for dead against Philadelphia. So of all those teams, who do you see there coming out with those spots?
Definitely the loser out of the Philly-Dallas out of the division, right? So right now it's Philly. I think they get the top spot. The Rams have been playing good. They got to get the 2. The third one, I don't think Minnesota's going to get it because they got to play Detroit twice down the stretch, and I don't know if they're going to beat them in neither one of those games.
So you don't think they could split?
I don't know if they split, to be honest. I Detroit's playing really good. I think maybe Seattle. Who does Seattle? Let me see. I just want to see who Seattle plays down.
I'm going to get it for you. Actually, my crack staff is going to get it for you here real quick.
Look at Seattle's. Seattle's got a really nice schedule for their last 3 games. See that?
You got the Titans in Tennessee, Pittsburgh,
winnable,
and you got Arizona.
They could easily win those 3 games, right? So I think Seattle gets that 3rd spot along with the Rams and let's say Philly for the 3 wild cards. That I think is your wild cards. I don't know if I don't know. You think Minnesota's going to split with Detroit?
They get them once more at home. Minnesota's played pretty good football the last 2 months.
Yeah, their defense has played well. Their offense is still a little.
Minnesota's been 6-3 the last 9 games. You don't think they can get one?
I don't know. Detroit. I'm telling you, Detroit's hot right now. That's the only thing. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I don't know.
Seattle. So you like Seattle then to get the spot?
I think so. Yeah. What's Minnesota's other game? Real quick.
I think I'll tell you right now.
They got Detroit twice. Oh, they got Green Bay. Oh, Big Ron. What do you think against Minnesota?
Packers. It's Sunday night, 8:20.
Ooh, next week. Minnesota, Green Bay.
So Green Bay has to really win out. Minnesota has to win 2 of 3. I mean, so let's say let me go with John. The Rams get one of the spots because they've got the 8 wins already. So
I think they get the 2 spot. They'll get the 2nd wild
right.
card.
The last one's coming down to Minnesota. It's coming down to Seattle. It's coming down to Green Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa, asterisk NFC South.
Yeah, I'm going to keep. Let's keep the AFC South out of it. Let's see who Green Bay has. Their last 3.
Well, you got Minnesota as one of them, and I think
it's Carolina this week, at Minnesota next week, and then
Chicago.
Chicago is going to be a tough match because Chicago
got to win out. Listen, Green Bay's got to win out.
Right. If they win out, they might get it. They might get that final spot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, Green Bay has to win out though. Green Bay. I mean, I'm skeptical on Seattle. I don't trust. I know they got it last year by default.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
tell you, the AFC is more wide open for the wild card. If you look at the wild card there.
Oh, for sure. You got like 9 teams. The NFC, it's really cut and dry. I mean, New Orleans. I don't really trust New Orleans.
I don't trust any of those South teams.
Well, they're getting in by the division. So let's say Tampa Bay. Let's say Tampa Bay wins it again at 8-9. All right, they're out. You got Seattle. We'll talk about this next week on the show. You got Seattle. You got Minnesota. You got Green Bay. You got New Orleans. You got Atlanta, I suppose.
Yeah, can Atlanta win out? I don't know if
they have a win over Green Bay, right? Atlanta beat Green Bay earlier, so they have a tiebreaker on that. I mean,
let's see. Atlanta's last 3 is Indianapolis, Chicago, and New Orleans.
I don't think they're getting in.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think they're getting in. I think Atlanta, if they're lucky, gets 1.
Yeah.
Atlanta goes the usual 7-10. You know what? I mean, maybe you might be right. Maybe Seattle finds a way to get in because I
think it's between the 3 teams: Seattle, Minnesota, and Green Bay. That's it.
And I think Minnesota, Green Bay is sorted out by the loser of that game.
Yeah.
Ron wants to say we're getting our payback on Minnesota. They don't have Cousins, but they've played well though. Justin Fields can't beat us. We own him. MVP is between Purdy and C-Mac, basically between themselves.
And the Saints still have the Falcons and they have Tampa Bay, so they got to win those 2 games.
Yeah, New Orleans to me has been such a disappointment. They should have to me won this NFC South going away, and they're in it. Yeah, I guess they could. I don't know. New Orleans to me, I think I'm going with my gut. It's going to go down to Seattle, Minnesota, or Green Bay, but I really think it's between Seattle and Minnesota.
Yeah.
The Brute Force Brad Rice could certainly sell beach towels. He might need some beach towels to kind of help him with the flu he's dealing with, I would imagine, because he needs to basically cool himself off. But, that's what some of the things we're going to go over. Obviously, next week on the show, we'll be on and we'll do a little bit more of a longer take on the games. Unfortunately, I have to go off and get off the air here in a few minutes because I have to get ready to do an interview. And because the people were here, I wanted to give you guys a little more longer time as usual. I wanted to get off about 20 minutes ago, but we're having a great conversation with football, and it is this time of the year. So we'll sort that self out next week on the show with you. And Chris, I want to give you the floor. I'm also looking forward to the Liftoff Jets. I'm going to be appearing on your podcast also with that as well very soon, maybe right after the new year. And I'm looking forward to playing the Liftoff Jets, in fact, tomorrow and Sunday, because I'm going to be live tomorrow and Sunday a few times. And I'm going to use that as my bridge for a few other shows we have on Sportswire. You should check it on sportswireradio.org. And also, I haven't won yet, John. I know I'm up 10 games on Rob, but we still have a few
running
more
away
weeks
with
to play.
it.
Well, we'll see. We'll certainly see. But obviously, I'll let that sort itself out. But, Chris, I want to give you the floor. I'm looking forward to the Liftoff Jets, playing that tomorrow on sportswireradio.org, our brand new website, which you're a part of. And I'm looking forward to being on the Talking Rivals, where I got an announcement for you and Patrick. I'm going to leave it at that for now. But anything else you want to plug, share, or say, the floor is yours, my good friend.
Tom, thank you. Thank you always for everything. The Talking Rivals, we're probably gonna have to do it if we can Wednesday or Thursday. We'll talk after just to kind of figure out.
I got a couple minutes. Sure.
All right, cool. So because I know Monday, obviously Monday's Christmas.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
I'm actually on Sportswire Radio on Monday. Actually, I can't even
there you
go
go.
for the wrestler.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. I'm on New Year's Eve even also. There you go.
There you go. Ringing the new year.
And I'm on New Year's Day, by the way. I'm already confirmed.
Okay. So, but we got to do it either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll figure it out. Obviously, we're going to catch up on this whole Yamamoto signing and everything else, and maybe we'll get more signings soon, as we were saying before. Liftoff Jets. We'll recap a little bit of the Jet game. It's going to be an ugly game.
Oh my God!
Sunday.
Home finale too, right? Home finale.
Yeah, against Washington. That's going to.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I was looking at tickets. They're like $30 right now. You could get.
You gonna go? You gonna? Supposed to be nice. Nice weather on Sunday. A rare nice day on Sunday.
I know. I was thinking about it, but I think we're gonna do something else. Anyway,
I should probably ask my brother. He might actually go to the game. He might go.
You could get really good seats for cheap. So this is the time to go. Not that you're going to see anything great, but you'll be able to sit there.
Hey, it's NFL football. When I had Islander tickets in Brooklyn, there was dirt ticket cheap seats all the time.
Yeah.
So you never know.
So, and Liftoff Jets. You know what? Now we're going to start getting into more of the playoff, just like we were talking about it. Me and Sharman and I will be getting into it a little bit more because the Jet season is basically over and there's really not much to talk about in that situation. So we'll be talking more about the NFL and the playoffs and the matchups coming up. So that'll be all fun. Remember, you can catch me on Twitter, CP7NY, at Liftoff Jets, at Talking Rivals, on Threads, at CP7NY as well. Keep listening and liking and subscribing. I appreciate it all.
Absolutely.
And, we'll definitely talk next week.
We love having you a part of the Sportswire Radio website as well.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we love having me. We've added some new podcasts out there. We have a website. We have a blog. So working hard on that. I have definitely put the time in to boost that up. I think the last post we had on our blog on Tumblr had like close to 400 views already. So, I mean, really, I'm really trying there. And thank you, John. I want to give John also a Merry Christmas wish because John's been awesome with the Sports Authorities group. And John was, I think, on Facebook jail for Messenger. So what the hell happened with that, John? I hope you got out of Facebook jail. I mean, because I feel like I'm on Facebook jail when it comes to streaming my shows for like 6 months, but I have no idea why.
They're outlaws.
I didn't post anything political. I didn't post any profanity. I didn't do anything. I just shared my show. I'm in 100 groups that I was invited in, but that's here nor there. But John, you've been awesome. Thank you for all you do for allowing me to be a part of your group, the Sports Authorities. Join it on Facebook at the Sports Authorities, over 4,000 members strong. Ron, I'm going with the Packers over the Panthers. I'm sure Chris probably said.
Yeah, me too. I can't see the Panthers.
That's the one there, and we'll definitely see everybody soon. I'm going to wish everybody who's not going to be here a Merry Christmas. I'll be back in about a half hour to 35 minutes, but I want to wish you a Merry Christmas on the air, Chris. I'll talk to you a couple minutes
Merry
real
Christmas.
quick off the air.
Sure.
And everybody be safe out there. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your Christmas gifts. I hope that the Christmas gifts are just as good as what you got from the Hanukkah dreidel and the stocking stuffers. And Santa, you track him. And if you go out there and be safe on those roads, I'll see everybody Friday here with these guys on Sportswire Radio. And Chris here, John says, I broke out Tom. The brute was the getaway driver.
Hey, and real quick, for everybody who's getting stuff from Amazon, the best way to thank a driver is if you have an Amazon speaker in your house, just say, Alexa, thank a driver, and they thank the driver for them, and I think they give them $5 as well.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh, wow. Well, I can tell you on the air, I gave my mailman, well, my brother and I contributed $60. So hopefully we were considered to be generous. I hope we were considered to be generous tippers because I gave 30, he gave 30. So, I mean, that seemed fair.
That's
right?
pretty cool.
So, yeah. So I try to be fair with the people. I try.
Yeah, especially if you get a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I would say that I actually get a fair amount of stuff. I mean, we've bought some, new speakers here for the station. We've bought some new lighting. So, yeah, I would say generally, yeah, I would say I get a fair amount of stuff from time to time in the mail. So yeah, I would have to say,
Cool.
my finances look pretty good these days, so I can't complain. The checks look good, but that's here nor there. Thank you, everybody. Be safe out there. I want to thank our first lady of Sportswire Radio, Ms. Zena, for tuning in as well. Thank you for following Chris with the Talking Rivals on Spotify. Thank you, John, for your support. I will speak with everybody in a little while, but until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are here on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station. If you're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever else. Thank you for all your support. If you're on sportswireradio.org, also, I'll be back on in a little while with Neff of Resurrection Wrestling. But until then, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Join me today is Chris Bizet of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals and Randy Dillon of the Hockey Fan Chat. I'll see everybody in a little while. Thank you.